Hey, what's up guys? So Uniden just released a new update for the R7. It's firmware version 1.37. Now this new update improves a couple things about the detector. We've got some improvements to the Autolockouts, to the arrows, to the MRCD detection, plus we've got a couple new features and menu options that have been added in here as well. Now, diving right into this, let's start with the auto lockouts. Now, auto lockouts were first introduced in the previous firmware version 1.35. There was an issue to where sometimes it wouldn't fully lock out a signal completely when you're passing by, and for that reason, this new update will kind of extend how wide the lockout radius actually covers. It's now wider. Now, that said, I've also come across some situations, maybe trying to lock out a stationary K-band false on the highway, to where the detector may still alert initially before the lockout then eventually kicks in. And so the lockouts are improved here to help make sure a signal stays fully locked out, but I haven't found that they're completely doing the trick quite yet. Additionally, when the detector now locks out a signal, it's also going to still display the frequency of the signal on screen as well, instead of just displaying the kind of auto mute mem alone and hiding the radar signal information. Additionally, if you'd like to choose kind of which frequencies can be locked out or not, you can now do that individually for both manual lockouts and auto lockouts. So for example, if you'd like the ability to maybe manually lock out Ka-band alerts, maybe a nearby satellite dish or an MRCD false or something, you can enable manual lockouts for just those, but for auto lockouts, you can tell it to only lock out X-band and K-band and never ever automatically lock out Ka-band or MRCD alerts. So now when you go in the detector, you're going to find options for both manual lockouts as well as automatic. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at the arrows here for the R7. Now, with this latest update, this seems to be the best performing arrows that I've seen yet here with the R7. I've had a bunch of different encounters in practice to where the arrows now work great. Like, for example, here, I'm driving down the highway and there's an officer with a customer over on the left-hand side, and you'll see the arrows do a great job of actually transitioning from front to rear as I pass the source, which is great to see. To give you another example, here's another clip as I'm approaching a speed sign over here on the right-hand side. You'll see the arrows will do a good job of flipping as I pass the speed sign, and then there's going to be a second speed sign over on the left side of the road shooting the other direction, and you'll see the arrows will, again, do a good job of flipping front back to rear as I pass the second speed sign as well. So the arrows now seem to be working much better than before. Now that said, I've also noticed that they're not perfect yet. For example, I did some testing both with 1.35 and 1.37, kind of redoing some of the instant-on testing from before. And if you're driving towards the radar source that's hitting you from the front, I found the detector will still sometimes not point straight ahead, but instead point sideways as you're still driving towards the radar gun. And so in my experience, 1.37, it doesn't completely fix the arrows to where they're perfect, but this is still the very best arrows that I've seen yet, and it's a big improvement compared to what I've seen before in practice. Next, as far as the MRCD detection, there's been some improvements here as well. I don't know the exact specific technical details, but in some of the beta testing up in Edmonton, the R7 is now able to consistently give plenty of advanced warning against a bunch of different MRCD trucks. Next, we've got a new feature added for the K-band new bogey alert tones. We used to have this just for Ka-band, and now we also have it added here for K-band. Now, this can be really nice. Let's say maybe you're driving towards a speed sign, may or may not be locked out, and then the detector detects a second signal, say an officer that's also maybe shooting K-band by the speed sign. In that situation, the detector can actually give you a unique alert to say, hey, I'm now seeing a second signal. I was seeing just one before, but I'm seeing a new one. You should probably pay attention. This is the new bogey alert tone. So now when you go into the detector's menu, you'll see that there's 5 different alert tones that you can select for K-band, just like we have for Ka-band, or you can disable the alert tones altogether. Now that said, something I've noticed in practice is, let's say you're driving around in a shopping center with a bunch of door openers in the area. Quiet Ride, your low-speed muting will do a great job of keeping the detector quiet. However, the new bogey alert tone does not obey the low-speed muting. And so it's possible for the detector to actually be giving these new bogey alert tones even if it's otherwise staying muted in shopping center parking lots. So something to be aware of. So the new bogey alert tone can definitely be useful, especially if you have a lot of legitimate K-band in your area, but I guess it's going to be a little bit noisier in parking lots because it doesn't actually follow the low-speed muting. I mentioned this to Uniden and they said it's something that they actually want to tweak and adjust in a future firmware update. On a related note, there's a new option in the menu to turn the POI chime on or off, the point of interest. And so if you don't want the detector to actually chime time and let you know when you pass a speed camera or a red light camera. I know some people were kind of annoyed by that. You now actually have the ability to just go in the detector and turn that option off. And then speaking of kind of signal presentation type stuff, there's been a couple changes to the detector's ramp up as well to basically shorten the ramp up. And so when the signal disappears, the signal displayed on the detector is actually going to disappear more quickly. For example, in my testing, I found that on K-band, the signal latch used to be about 7 seconds with 1.35. It's now going to be only 6 seconds. Similarly with Ka-band signals, once the gun stops firing, it used to take 10 seconds for that signal to completely drop off the detector. Now with this new update, it's going to take about 7.5 seconds or so in my testing. Similarly, the laser latch is much shorter too, so when you get shot with laser, obviously your detector has the ability to alert to that. Hopefully. And when the signal stops being detected by the R7, it used to actually take 12 full seconds for the R7 to stop alerting. Now it's much, much shorter. It's only 6 seconds. And personally, I like these short latches much better. It makes the detector kind of more accurate and more representative of what you're getting in real life. It's still going to continue alerting even after the signal is gone, but it's going to drop off much more quickly once the signal is no longer being detected. So a nice change here for the R7. Finally, if you'd like to go ahead and update your detector, the update is now available over on Uniden's website. I'll link to that down in the video description as well. If you need help updating, I've got a tutorial. I'll link you to that too. But then if you need additional assistance, hop on over to the forum. That's going to be the very best place to go for any sort of questions or tech support and troubleshooting type stuff, because that can definitely happen sometimes when you're trying to update your R7. So again, as always, bunch of information down there. That's going to be a good reference for you. And then, of course, if you still need to purchase an R7, I am seeing them in stock again, despite the semiconductor shortage. So if you'd want one, I'll drop a link to a couple places where you can go and pick up your R7. Other than that, yeah, that's just a quick run through of the kind of changes and improvements here with this latest update for the Uniden R7. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks to Uniden as well for continuing to update the R7 and making it better and better over time. So, awesome. Hope you're all doing well, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.